Today we're going to talk about the benefits of Ring and the functionality that we have. For those of you that joined us in Tech Home in Louisville, my colleague out there, Ryan, actually got up and talked about a lot of the feature sets that you should be looking for when you're building a technology strategy for your homes. And a couple key factors that we focused in on were marketability, flexibility, approachability, and scalability. Now, we talk about marketability. We talk about a couple key things. One is brands that your homeowners know and, of course, trust. The other one is flexibility, right? The ability to have your homeowners either set it up themselves or to have that white glove service deployed directly inside your homes. And the solutions that you should be looking at are also solutions that are approachable, solutions that can fit into any budget, whether that's for a custom home or a standard track-built home as well, and devices that are easy to install, set up, and of course use. And the last thing that we really want to talk about is the scalability factor. The ability to provide solutions that can grow to meet your homeowner's needs over time. And although I can spend the next 10 minutes kind of diving into this and really going through all these factors, when John and Colin approached us a few weeks back and asked us to do this presentation, and he asked us what we wanted to present about, Ryan and I took a thought for a second, and we both came to the one criteria. We wanted to talk about a feature that many of your home builder or many of your homeowners are currently using today. Many of you in this room are probably using, and that's called our neighbors feature. How many of you currently have Ring inside your homes today? Quite a few, right? So every single one of you has this neighbors feature built right natively inside the Ring app. And this neighbors feature allows us to tie the communities connected closer together, allows us to bring the community watch into the 21st century. What it does is it crowdsources the ability for your neighbors to share posts about things that were happening inside of that community. It allows your homeowners to move into your homes and understand what is happening and how they can communicate with others that are out there currently today. Now, I want to explore this neighbors feature in a little more depth and breadth. Now, as we talk about the neighbors app, it really breaks into a couple different key criteria, as you can see behind me. One main feature is safety. So, and my colleague Ryan, he lives in northern New Jersey, and he has bears in his neighborhood all the darn time. You probably don't want to let your dog out when there's a bear in the backyard. These are things that you can share right directly within the Ring app. You can also have unsuspected activity. So if somebody's knocking on the door and you just don't know who that person is, you can post it on there and see if there's somebody perusing around the community itself. In addition to that, you can post information about crime, as well as lost pet. And we'll dive a little more deeper into the lost pet category. It's near and dear to my heart. And then what I like the most is our neighborly moments. You probably see this on the Ring if you look in our YouTube or our Facebook or any of those social media sites. They're funny videos of what happens, right? When somebody falls down when they try to leave their house in the middle of winter, or somebody comes up and helps their grandmother or walks their trash can up to their garage. All of that's captured and added into the neighbors feature based off of the Ring, based off that Ring neighbor. Now, one thing that I'll mention is that all this content inside this neighbor feature is moderated. So we have Ring associates that actually moderate this 24/7 to make sure the content stays relevant to your community. So all of that's built right directly in there. And if you talk to us later on, we can show you how that all works. Another thing that I really love is how public safety agencies can actually leverage this solution to be able to communicate with you and let you know what's happening inside your neighborhood. Just last week, there was a gas leak right down the street from my house, and I was notified inside the Ring app, right? I didn't get a call, I didn't get anybody else reaching out to me, but in the Ring app, I got a notification saying there's a gas leak at XYZ location. So I knew not to go there. These are all really great feature sets that your homeowners will have when they move into a Ring community. And it goes even further than that. A fire department can post, hey, there's been a fire down the street, and police department can say, hey, we shut off this road. All of that is built right directly there. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the pet feature is really near and dear to my heart. And within the Ring app, you can actually set a pet profile inside there. So your favorite Fluffy, you can have a picture of them inside there. You can say, hey, Fluffy is allergic to lamb. So if you find Fluffy out there, don't feed it lamb, all right? Please feed it anything else. So other key factors inside there is that if your pet is lost, say a dog's been lost or your cat has been lost, you can easily click one button. It'll broadcast that to your entire community so that everybody in that community can be on alert. If they find that dog, they can message you right directly within the Ring app to let you know where Fluffy is. Yeah, pretty cool, right? So really cool how that all comes together. But that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. If you have a minute, we're up in booth 413 up top. Please stop by, talk to Ryan and myself, and we'd love to dive deeper into our offering.
Thank you. Here is our lineup for today. We're going to be talking about that long-term experience and lifetime value and tapping into that. Why don't we just go down the line and I'll let you guys introduce yourselves and your companies a little bit.
Thanks, John. My name is Sean Weiner. I'm with Bravus, and I'm one of the founding members of that organization. I would say this 1919. In 2019, not that old. 2019, we put together 15 integrators across the United States. So companies like mine that was a high-end residential integrator to form a national integrator. And right now, we're the largest custom integrator in the country. And we're growing every day and trying to expand to new markets. And we are the ones that install the products and services that you are seeing and looking at this event.
I'm Greg Simmons. I am the Vice President of Industry Partnerships for Snap One currently. Been there for about 2 years. I was a 30-year integrator in Las Vegas called Eagle Century. I worked for a lot of builders. Builders was really our go-to-market strategy from day one. Developed a ton of great relationships. I sold it about 3.5 years ago. The team that's running it now is doing great, still doing a ton of builder business. I started a 24/7 365 support company called Parasol about 5 years ago. Because I knew that there was a need to provide better support, obviously some of the things we're talking about today. And that company we're going to talk a little bit about on this panel. But yeah, I've been in the industry since I was 19.
Thank you. Hi everyone, Casey Couture, CEO, co-founder of Virtuo. We help home builders streamline the whole homeownership experience and make it amazing, like we believe it should be. So buying a home is a massive, significant purchase, is extremely disruptive, and we believe it should be a seamless, wonderful experience. And so my background is in global relocation. We spent many years relocating executives, CEOs of energy companies all over the world, and we got a pretty a good view into how disruptive that world is, and obviously around the consumer expectations and demands from these executives, and we figured we could take that and bring it to everyday consumers, and specifically around moving into a home, and so we've managed to do that by leveraging high human touch and a platform that connects it all.
Very good. So here's our flow. Want to again do some definition of terms and walk through the elements of what is a excellent long-term tech ownership experience. So what does that look like from the homeowner's perspective? What are the industry service deliverables that enable that make that happen? And then reason why Casey's on this panel is we're going to talk about a little more visionary concept for technology connected to ownership apps and whether there's a way companies like this could combine to more broadly support the ownership experience beyond the technology. So that's our charge for the day. So definitions, right? So on the left side, I'll walk through these, and then Sean and Greg, if we could just discuss them and provide examples of anything that you think resonates. But number one, and this came up earlier today, this morning, is just, do they use the system? And are they proficient in operating it, right? So that's like table stakes of having a good experience. Can you, because as you get familiar, you may want to expand your proficiency. Are there ways for them to easily do that, to become power users? I think that's could be an element for an excellent owner experience. Let's recognize that technology is not magical. Things are going to break down because people use them a lot and they may reset them, and it's just like everything else. You and I have talked about this. It's like everything else in the house. Nothing doesn't break, right? So let's not pretend that it's not going to break. But when it does, can they easily access the troubleshooting, the repair and replacement services that are required? Can they easily and quickly get those services? I think that's part of that ownership experience from a homeowner perspective. And then the more sweetness and light side of things, if they want to expand and upgrade and enhance the system, is that a relatively carefree or an easy process? So I'm going to throw that open for discussion with you guys, Greg and Sean. I mean, are we missing anything there, or is there any piece of that really resonates with you guys?
I think that, and I'm sure Greg will address this, I think we have to sort of define what breaking means, right? So I think that there's a conception that one of the devices just simply stops working. That's actually normally not the case. The case is that, as an integrator, we're putting together dozens, if not hundreds, of components in a house. And if one of those components in the chain isn't doing what it's supposed to do, it can give the appearance or the impression that the whole system is broken, something's not working properly. And with Parasol and companies like Greg's, what we're able to do is get a remote look into that system and see if maybe one of those things isn't doing what it's supposed to do. So we don't have a broken system, we have an issue that can be remotely resolved without having to roll a truck. So I think that that's the definition of how we're evolving as an industry.
Yeah, what is the language we use around that? Is it broken, or is there some sort of system enhanced? I think that's a good point. Greg, do you have something you want to add?
Yeah, I think my perspective is interesting because I was an integrator for many years, had a lot of builder relationships. The builder was putting me in front of their customer, your customer. So we as trade contractors are an extension of you, right? They're going to, their home building experience has a lot to do with those of us that actually help build the house. So now that I've got a 24/7, 365 support company and I'm on the manufacturer side, I know that pain, right? We created Parasol 5 years ago, 3 integrators from different parts of the country, because we couldn't take care of our customers when they needed it. If you think about it, most of us in this room, we go home with our families like our customers do at 5, 6, whatever it might be, and then we're closed. Eagle Century was open from 7:30 a.m. till 5:30 p.m., and we closed. I wanted my people to be able to go home and enjoy their families and try to provide the support during the day. The reality is that as advanced as these technology systems have become, our clients are using these while we're not there. So we developed Parasol through the Oversee platform, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute, that Snap One has built. We created it because I wanted my people to be able to enjoy their lives after the day ended. I wanted the customer service reps that worked for you to be able to go home to their families and their phone not, continually ringing. And so Parasol was the idea that let's take that off the plate. Let's let them provide 24/7, 365 experience and assistance without any cost to them or to the builder. There is an associated monthly fee that comes with it that I can talk a little bit about. But really, what we did was we created this. We have 24, 25 technicians now around the country that through Snap One's Oversee platform, which is a remote management platform that allows us to see in all the devices that have gone into the system we put in, and it allows us very easily to reboot, reset instantly. So a typical example would be your customer service department gets a call and the customer says, my internet's not working. Who's ever heard that? Right? We all hear those things. Something's not working. And what we do now is we give them the ability to call into us. We respond in a matter of minutes, and we resolve the problem about 75% of the time. So the builder was never involved. The integrator was never involved. Bravis was not involved. And the customer had a really good experience, and we got them up and running in a matter of minutes. The normal procedure for my company before that was Friday night you have a problem, master bedroom TV doesn't come on, they call into service on Monday morning, we schedule a service call for Wednesday, and us as integrators, we created that as a good customer service experience. It's ridiculous. So now with the technology that Snap One has given us, there are other remote management platforms out there, we're changing the way the consumer feels about us as integrators, and we're changing the way they feel about their home building experience. And in a little bit, I have some numbers to show.
Let's just keep going, Greg.
Yeah. So we have 417 dealers. A dealer would be an integrator that you work with around the country. We're actually doing some work in the UK and Australia already. We provide something called All Call. All Call is for the dealer that if they want us to take all of their calls, we can do that. It's a glorified call service where they don't have to be disturbed during the day, and then we'll just forward a ticket to them. We've got almost 6,000 end user clients, but we're growing rapidly now. So we anticipate being in the tens of thousands, in the near future. And what that's going to do is that's going to create really a better experience for the end user. Technology's tough. When we survey customers that have had, let's say, a control system, it could be, we own Control 4, but it could be any control system. If you survey that customer 5 years later, they're really not very satisfied, right? The NPS score, if you're familiar with the Net Promoter Score, is like -30 because we've moved on to the new house, we've moved on to the new customer, and shame on us for not being able or creating a way to take care of customers like we're talking about today, like in a lifetime experience. So, this is continuing to grow. We're continuing to build the people that can help. But now when we attach the Parasol service, and there's a way that even the customer back in the day can still reach someone immediately and have a 75% chance of getting it resolved immediately. Now you're talking about a Net Promoter Score, and I think I have an example in this slide, of more than 80, plus 80. I mean, you can imagine what that does for the way they feel about the builder, the way they feel about technology, the way that they might want to put technology in the next home. The numbers are there, and I hoped to prove that many years ago. I took a chance, and the proof is in the numbers. I mean, if we survey them in many different ways, and they are really, really satisfied when they know they have someone to get a hold of. It's working.
All right. So that's a key piece of the value chain. I want to just jump back to this opening slide here and talk about the full scope of services that I think we need to provide to get the other side of the equation, the homeowner perspective in place. One is expectation setting during the sales and onboarding process, and I think broken may be the wrong word, right. But for folks to understand that there is going to be a need for ongoing support and troubleshooting on this up front, and not to try to hide that away is an important piece of the equation, which then sets up the next two things, right, which is service agreements. Now, how we offer service agreements and when they kick into place is an interesting question that I'll want to hear from you guys about, but your service, Greg, is typically part of or the entirety of the service agreement for the long-term support passed on by the integrator. Yep. So how do we get those things instituted and have the right handoffs? And I think this, the monitoring and managed services piece, so there's been a lot of monitoring bashing over the last 10 years. Why would people want to pay this extra, dollar figure on a monthly basis? Because it actually funds the support. And these remote connections, we talked this morning about the technology that enables communications to flow through to the user so that they can become better users of it. But the head end fielding traffic about what's going on those systems is really important. And the ability to intervene and troubleshoot from the cloud, or to organize the field services to do the on-site work efficiently, is really critical for this long-term support piece. So I think service agreements and a monitoring/managed services piece that also ties into field services is important. And then, how do we tend to the updates, upgrades, and expansions? Can you guys talk about that? Can you talk about it, Sean? I mean, it's just like you're doing it, yeah. Right?
There's a lot of moving pieces that you just described, right?
Yep.
So we're presenting a system, we're setting expectations for how the system will work when it's complete, but there's a lot of variables and things that change over time. And probably the number one example of that are the content providers and content creators. So all the devices that we use, cable boxes, Apple TVs, Fire Sticks, and the content that they stream, whether it's Netflix or Hulu or streaming audio service like Spotify, all those things change daily because the service providers change the way they're delivered. And they also provide very inexpensive devices to get that content to you, which means those devices may not be the most reliable ones in your system. So we have things to worry about, like Spotify changes the way that they integrate with the systems, and all of a sudden my stuff's broken, right? Because I can't listen to my Spotify channel. Or my cable box locked up, and my $300,000 home theater system stopped working because I don't have a cable box that's active. So we as an integrator have to figure out how to best handle that. And there's multiple ways to do it. Some are proactive approaches and some are reactive approaches. The proactive approach is the fun one, where someone's actually sitting in front of a machine looking at your system and seeing that something's not quite right and needs to be fixed or reset, which is sort of the dream scenario. So the client never knows there's an issue with their system. The other is they realize there's a problem, they have somebody to call or reach out to or text or message who can resolve that issue remotely, and then worst case, the on-call tech has to roll a truck out and take care of that. But those are the things that we have to sort of navigate in the conversation up front and in the conversation about ongoing service and support.
And there's a fee for this stuff, right?
Yeah. So Greg's service is one piece of that equation. Greg's service, Parasol is one piece of that equation. Our service plans incorporate that level of service, and I'll take a little bit of credit for the all-call. I think I was one of the first to have the conversation with you guys about that.
Yep.
But just being able to have a service experience that's easy. I know from being someone who actually owns a home that it's very difficult to get a service provider to show up. You have to figure out who to call. You've got to find out how to reach them. You've got to worry about scheduling and being there. None of those things are fun. In the middle of the day, you don't want to pick up your phone and find a phone number. So the easier we can make it to bring service into the house and support the systems that we install, the better the experience will be. And that's how we built our service plans to incorporate Parasol services, but they also incorporate some other things. At the very high end, our VIP plans, we even have party attendants. So if you're concerned that you won't remember how to use the outdoor speaker system at your event, we'll send a technician to your party.
Yeah.
You might have to give them some alcohol.
But how do you sell a service agreement to the consumer? And how are you selling it in conjunction with a builder program? When is this presented? Is it teed up as part of the optional systems purchase process? Is there a period where a warranty is going to be in effect and there's no fee for the service, and then after warranties are, how's that all handled? And it's a newer activity, right, for Bravas to have this sort of long-term service. So it was a transition, right, to everybody balks at it because well, why would you need to offer me a service agreement? Is there something wrong with the system? Maybe I shouldn't get it. How do you get over those hurdles, or how did you get over those hurdles?
So the big, you asked two questions there. One of them is, how do you get people to, how do you get people to agree to pay for a service plan when they just spend a bunch of money on a system that's supposed to work all the time?
Right.
What we sort of landed and settled on is an introductory period that's included in the proposal. So you take advantage of our services, including the all-call service, that if you have a question about how things operate, if you're not sure something's working properly, if you have a broken part in your system, you reach out, we sort of train the customers where to go, how to find us, whether it's via text message or through a web chat or through a phone call. And then they sort of become accustomed to that service, and when you threaten to take it away, sometimes they understand the value of that, sometimes they don't. So we don't have 100% uptake in service programs, but it's probably the best way to give them that taste that this is something that's not unlike changing the oil in your vehicle. You've got to have it.
Yeah. Greg,
Yeah.
what do you want to add?
Yeah,
You've
so
been on both sides of this,
Yeah.
right? As a service provider
Yeah.
and on
I'll
the...
give you an experience of when I started this 5 years ago, a lot of my clients said, well, Greg, you've been providing great service for us for years. Why should I pay for it now? Then I went through the scenario I talked about before with the average, what the regular service process was. So real life example, I start this service, a buddy of mine builds this beautiful home in Las Vegas. I say, listen, I'm going to give you this service. I'm going to make you pay for it monthly, but you're going to be able to reach someone 24/7, 365 instantly. He says, I don't know. I'm going to probably tell you to cancel. So this is back around the time the last season of Game of Thrones came out. Big Game of Thrones fan. He's got a party at his house, his brand new house. People are coming in costume. It's catered. They go to fire up his brand new theater system to watch this opening night on a Sunday night. I'm at a Vegas Golden Knights hockey game in T-Mobile Arena with AT&T service, so you can imagine how that goes. He texts me, I said, call that number I put into your phone. Calls the number, texts me back 5 minutes later and said, I will pay for that forever. We basically saved the party and the event on a Sunday night, which normally none of us could have ever done in the past. You know, if, as an integrator, as a builder in the service department, it's just too expensive on your own to try to provide that 24/7, 365 really good, accurate, quick support. Not to mention how bad it is on your people that are having to take those calls while they're at home for dinner. So the idea is that now the technology that we have, you know, and for a nominal fee per month, the customer is having these experience and they're willing to pay for it. I put 45 customers on at the very beginning, and 44 of them are still paying for it today, 5 years later. If you have that experience, it's something that you'll always pay for.
And the nominal fee is?
We allowed to talk, Bryson?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
Nobody's.
So we recommend, we did a lot of studies in the security business. We recommend that our dealers charge $49.99 a month. We charge them half of that. So it's a 50-point program for the dealer. It's an incentive to them. It's a reasonably priced service for a homeowner, especially when they have that type of experience, which they do every day with us. And they can then put it into other service plans. We have a builder in St. Louis that offers, you know, we put in the network in every home, and we put in, I believe, a Claire system in every home. And then they offer the Parasol service for a year, and then we've developed marketing material to then get them to continue paying, especially if they've had the experience after that year warranty period goes out. Because as an integrator, I'm going to provide a year warranty to you, the home builder, but that could be very expensive for me if I've got to be rolling trucks during that warranty period that I'm not getting paid for. So some of the integrators will pay us the $25 a month, and we'll handle it 75% of the time. They roll less trucks, customer's happier, and then the customer would be happy to pay for that service moving forward.
So the dealer offsets some of the expense to the consumer because of their operating expense savings.
Yeah, we allow them to put it in any type of plan they want. In New York City, some people are charging significantly more. We're only charging them half of our recommended because we want them to be able to develop their service plan, whether it be through their builder, with their builder, on their own, depending on their market. We want them to develop the service plan that's best for them, that market, and the homeowner. You know, I was an integrator, so I thought of all the things that I didn't want and the things that I wanted, and that's what Parasol is.
Okay, let's talk about upgrades and expansions. How does that work? How do you guys team up on that, or is that more of a Bravis only sort of function on the updates and upgrades?
I wouldn't say we team up on it, but I think that clearly when something is old or dated and needs to be rebooted often, and we get those notifications, we know that maybe something needs to be replaced. But when I was Star Systems 20 years ago, we built a service department inside of our company, and the service techs were my best people. They were the best and the brightest and the smartest. They knew about every system we installed and everything that they touched. They were great with client communications. They were the people that you could put out in front. They could be salespeople. And they visit the homes when there's issues to be taken care of or addressed, or now they call if they need to. And that's an opportunity. Technology changes. That's why everyone's here right now. And I think if you really looked at every system that we've installed over the years, every 3 years or so, you're due for upgrades of part of that system. It's not any different than boat ownership, I wouldn't think, where there's things that are better. Right. And using that team to sort of leverage that and help the homeowners understand what the new products and services are and what the benefits of those things are is pretty important. Right. And then the other things that the content providers are constantly changing, and I think the way that we look at systems now versus as recently as 3 or 4 years ago is completely different than it was then.
Yeah. So it's a tough question for you guys, but I mean, is there a way for the builder to share in some of this long tail revenue coming out of the maintenance and the monitoring and the upgrades, or even if not sharing revenue, to sharing the information about that stuff so they understand what the ownership experience is for the client?
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we couldn't work on a program to do that. I think that part of it would have to be, from the builder's perspective, saying, hey, we're responsible for the technology and things that we install in the home. We're going to be your partner in this moving forward. We're going to work with our integrator and with you to make sure that you've got the best possible service experience. In exchange for that, you'd share in that revenue. If it's simply just I'll bring you into the building and give me 10%, that's not necessarily the best relationship for either party, I don't think.
Yep. Any thoughts on it, Greg?
We're starting to talk to builders. I referenced the builder in St. Louis about how that could occur. I think that the possibilities are out there. I think what we're doing now is we're helping the builder in many ways. We're taking that service call to the builder service department away in many cases. We're creating a better overall experience. If you look at that NPS score with being able to reach someone with the products that you've put in their home, we've put in their home for you, is a key part of their living experience. Their net promoter score probably with the builder is going to be better, right? So we're going to sell more homes. We're going to gain more confidence if we're providing this better lifetime experience for the client. They're going to come back to us for the next home. They're going to come back to us for the next integrated system, and they're going to continue to pay these service fees to get that great experience.
Great. So we got a pretty good deep dive from Greg on Parasol and Oversee. I don't know whether you feel like you've communicated most of what you do with Bravis in terms of supporting the long-term ownership experience, but I want to give you an opportunity to state it more holistically if you like.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things about being an integrator is you can approach it one of two ways. And one of them is that I install systems and get in and get out as quickly as I can. The other is that I want to have a customer for life. Bravis is in that second category where we want our customers to be customers forever, and in order to do that, you've got to have a great service experience. So we try and do a good job from the very first step on this list that you see there through to the end, and the service and support is probably the best one at the end. So I learned a long time ago that you can have a perfect installation, and the client's expectations are fully met, and at the end of the job, they'll never refer you because you weren't memorable. If you really screw something up badly during the install process, but you're there to fix it, they'll remember and they'll work with you later. And I think the same thing holds true in the home building industry as well. So we understand this is technology and things break and installers make mistakes and people have bad days and there are weather delays and lightning strikes and things like that we have to overcome. If we do a good job of maintaining communication with that client and fixing problems as they occur quickly, resolving their issues and answering their questions, we can be a partner for life. And I think that Parasol is one of those tools that allows us to be that company, and it's an arrow in our quiver that we didn't have before.
Yeah. And let's take just a couple of minutes to distinguish kind of the Parasol scope versus traditional security monitoring. Greg, you've been involved in both. They're kind of side-by-side platforms at this point, right?
Yeah, so I was in the security business for a long time. I think that it was really the first thing that a lot of consumers were willing to pay for. The security industry did a great job, with marketing, and I think a lot of people, in my experience, don't want to really live in the house without security. So it was a very well-established, recurring revenue platform and a service platform that people were willing to pay for. We did a study once the systems got more sophisticated and we could see who was turning them on and who wasn't. Something like we had 16,000 customers in Vegas and 40% of them didn't even turn the alarm on, and they paid us the $35 a month anyway. Maybe they just turned it on when they went on their 2-week vacation or if they heard there was a break-in in the neighborhood. So the fact is a lot of this stuff is peace of mind. The differentiation between, like, the Oversee platform from Snap One is amazing. It gave us the ability to reduce truck rolls. We could see into the system. We could reset and reboot things very, very easily. And that is the technology is getting better and better. It's only going to get better. But the problem I had was the consumer said to me, well, I pay you the security fee, that's fine, but it's 24/7, 365, even if I'm not turning it on. So that's how the whole thing with Parasol came, is that I wanted to monetize the Oversee platform and this audio, video, and automation side of the business, and that's what we did. But we realized that it really needed 24/7, 365 support. However, for no money at all during the day, integrators all over the country now, 16,000 of them, are able to help people remotely every day. So what I did is I took the security contract and I took the Paracel contract. I put it into a customer file. I billed them once quarterly, and that was kind of the differential.
At Eagle Sentry, you integrated the two service
At
platforms.
Eagle Sentry, I integrated the two service platforms.
And Parasol's more focused on the AV and home automation
Absolutely.
stack, all these web services devices that can be queried and controlled to some
Yeah,
level.
we have nothing to do with security outside of surveillance cameras, only because from a licensing standpoint, your central station has to be approved.
And someday maybe it'll all come
Someday
together
maybe
in the
it'll
cloud, but
someday
it's two different clouds right now.
That's right.
Got it. All right, so we're going to move on to our visioning section here for 10, 15 minutes or so. So this is a big topic at Housing Transformation, which I talked to you all about this morning. I do believe there's the beginnings of a sea change in terms of builders looking beyond the close at what the ownership experience is, and also at all of the dollars that are spent post-close on the maintenance, improvements, even attachment sales in categories like furniture and decorating. Here's some slides that just show what the size of these opportunities are. This is from a part of the presentation that Tim Costello from BDX made at the HTS last year. So there's a ton of money spent on maintenance, and the maintenance can be done more easily, but that's where Casey's company and Casey's slides come in. So why don't you walk us through this stuff, Casey, and talk to us about that broader maintenance piece and the ownership experience.
Yeah, sounds good. I guess those big numbers and that big market size and spend is all intriguing, but it's kind of pointless if we can't get an engaged, excited, and happy buyer that we can keep, I guess, in our ecosystem beyond possession and even during that buying process. So we all know the expectations of buyers and all of us today with hyper convenience, on demand, everything. It's just a completely different world that we're living in with our buyers. So it's really important that we kind of take a step back and understand their journey and journeys outside of just buying a home. So you've sold them that home, and with that home comes major disruption to their families and their lives, and so that's what's going through their minds. And I think it's important. That's where we are really focused on. So our mission is to create a simple, seamless, full homeownership experience, end-to-end experience. So outside of the build, it's the move, it's the everything. So it's important that we recognize that. We firmly believe, and we're seeing it today, that the builders who are going to be leveraging these expectations into valuable long-term relationships will ultimately win in the end. So it's we hear this, meet customers where they are and on their terms. They expect digital, seamless. That's table stakes, and it's the builders who we believe will be going over and above from a kind of higher touch, white glove experience that'll effectively will win. So we've pioneered this idea of Owner X, short for homeowner experience. And so this is something that you probably all have a strategy. Obviously we believe we are a solution for this, but it's ultimately the overall experience of a person finding, moving, living in a home with a obsession around delivering these amazing experiences: digital, high touch, easy, simple. So the Owner X platform is effectively a business framework that we built our business on. And so we happen to be, fortunately for us, the only turnkey solution designed to help you streamline and elevate that experience that you already have from purchase to moving and beyond, and just create raving, engaged fans for life. So how does it all work? So that framework consists of three things working very seamlessly together. So there's a platform that connects it all. So we talk about connecting all of this. It's important to have a flexible platform to connect it all. Obviously, today we need a modern, intuitive mobile app experience for all customers. That's just an expectation. And right now, I think when it comes to home buying, there's probably 10 different tools that we're expecting these customers to engage with, and the engagement levels on all of them are extremely low. And so this brings in kind of our secret sauce, which connects it all, is effectively a human concierge. This is a person that's with them. This is a single point of contact, accountability, ultimately triaging all these pains, wants, needs, leveraging the platform to scale it and connect it all. When we're talking about smart homes, we're talking about moving services and whatnot. So how it works for us for our builders. So effectively, as soon as the deal goes firm, we get notified, and then they get into the virtual experience and get introduced to their concierge. We understand their pains, their needs, what's happening in their lives. Every customer is obviously different, especially when it comes to moving. So then we just effectively go to work and take them through this wonderful experience of connecting all their services and utilities and their internet, TV, their waste, and all this stuff that is very painful for them, but typically not looked at from builders. And there are a lot of large builders now that we're working with who are seeing the bigger picture of their pains and understanding their ultimately their needs outside of their own journey. And we really love that, obviously, because that's the space that we're in. So I guess from a feature perspective, obviously the where we focus is streamlining communication, streamlining documents, so all these like major pain points of buying a home. It's extremely fragmented and choppy and messy, and the pain all lands on the consumer. So our job is to build our business around what makes sense for the consumer, and then tie it into how do we leverage your systems and processes and people and trades and whatnot. How do we optimize that to deliver this amazing 2022 experience?
So Casey, you've got people on staff that are the personal touch on this stuff.
Yes.
You've got the all the stuff that's in the house cataloged in this centralized file cabinet, right? And that's an active database where the maintenance information is proactively being pushed to the consumer on when they need to replace filters, order consumables, all that sort of stuff, instead of the 3-ring binder that nobody opens.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and the idea there, the big picture there, it's nice, and it's a great feature for making it easy for the homeowner. But think about what happens when we have all this data, and think about the Carfax for the home and what can we do with that. And so we're talking some bigger stuff around certifying homes and what can we do with that information if it's getting into this platform and decentralized area. It becomes pretty powerful.
Let's keep going.
So again, I think that the important thing here is this is the primary relationship has to be between you and your customers. So we've built our business to fit in there, to elevate your existing systems and processes and experiences, so that we can now create that captive audience, that happy, engaged consumer, and then leverage the tools and everything that you guys are already doing to elevate that experience. I think what we've found is, again, like the engagement is extremely low for most of the tools today. So you can have all the wonderful content in the world, but if you can't get it to someone, it's pretty useless. So that's effectively where we come in with our platform, is be able to leverage what you know and all your resources and all great content and funnel it into the.
Yeah, you guys get the engagement on your app by tackling these critical needs during the move-in process, right?
Exactly.
People start using it because they have to, because they've got to do a lot of stuff with regard to the move. Now they're hooked into the platform and they can use it for the longer-term maintenance piece, right?
Exactly, and we have some builders that want just to leverage the post-possession stuff, and so the key thing here is that move-in is that strategic entry point, because that's where it's high stress, it's high need, and that's where we come in and make you guys look amazing, because we come save the day during a really shitty time in their lives, and then ultimately that's where we build that trust and that engagement continues on.
What else you got?
So this is more just features with respect to just making it really easy. So with respect to signing documents, automatically get funneled into the file cabinet, managing the tasks, and we've integrated. So we've integrated our builder partners and we have an expert model, we call it. Effectively, it's leveraging all the partnerships and being able them to seamlessly engage through the platform. So when we often get questions about warranty and whatnot, which we don't want to try to solve. So that's where we triage and pull in whether it's a builder, whether it's a different service provider or partner into the experience, so that we can make things very, very easy, centralized, and seamless for the end consumer. Sorry.
We talked about the design and engineering piece yesterday, and getting the integrator involved earlier. That creates an opportunity for the technology integrator to be more closely allied with all those trade partners, and maybe in a better position to pull all the information together in terms of what's in the as-built home. And there's the home that's planned, and then there's the home that's built. And I think updating and maintaining those plans and all the pieces and parts in there is a task that's untended to today. And part of what we want to do, Casey, is we want to give you no new data entry on this stuff. We want to take things out of digital design centers and flow them into ownership apps. That's how we're going to get this to go fast and for it to be affordable. But what are your thoughts, about an integrator doing that work? It's not traditional work, but it's an opportunity for you to increase your value to the builder and the homeowner.
Yeah, I think as an integrator, we're only one piece of this puzzle, obviously, but I think we live in a society where we want things to be easy. And if I were to build or buy a house from anyone sitting out here listening today, if you had your own builder's app that I could access to fix whatever I didn't understand, I don't know when to change filters in my HVAC system. I don't know where to get the filter for the water thing in the refrigerator. I don't know who to call if my appliances are under warranty, need to be repaired. Every time I have a pain point like that, it's difficult for me, and it makes me less happy about my purchasing experience. So I think having that sort of baked under one roof where I can get that information and get those service providers to my home makes me feel better about the experience, makes me more likely to buy a product from that consumer again. I think tech is incredibly important, and for us, we want to get everything that's in that system, everything that's in that house, in that data, in that application. And what we do with Oversee and Parasol and brands like that is we're forced to maximize the value in that tool by doing exactly what you're describing. So at the end of a job, if what was designed wasn't exactly what was built, we still have to make that call at the end and sort of come up with that list of components and identify each device that's on the network and know its IP address and what it's supposed to do and what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
So all that stuff actually is there,
Yeah.
And can be pushed, whether it's through the digital design center right to the app or done manually. Clearly, automated is better, but it does exist and it can be there.
I think the other piece that's an opportunity for you, Greg, is that as we start to see devices arriving throughout the house, IoT devices, and we can monitor the real state of repair of some of these pieces and parts, somebody sitting up there in the cloud is going to need to field that traffic and feed it back. And so like your ownership app can have the expected time to repair and replace stuff, but based on usage, it might be a different story. So we might have the ability to flow through more actual data through a cloud-based network operating center like yours to have the homeowner take action on preventative maintenance items and such too.
Yeah, I just moved into a new house, and I think the idea of having to contact a bunch of different service providers, I'm in a new market, I don't know the people, so it's been a little bit complicated. The idea of having an app where whatever the service was, whether it was Parasol or whether it was something with the integrator or with HVAC or with plumbing, whatever it would be, man, if we could, that's what you're doing. If we could handle that in one platform with all of us getting together would be huge, and a much better experience, for the homeowner, for us as the homeowner. I think the only thing I'm sad about is I might have to get rid of my 3-ring binder.
All right, we got a couple minutes for questions. This is kind of the beginning of a conversation on this stuff. I think what we talked about in the first half of this in terms of just trying to nail the long-term support for the consumer on the technology is more state of the market, but I don't know whether there are any questions out there. Is anybody out there? Can't see. We don't have a mic anyway. All right. Well, we're down to the wire here. First of all, I want to thank Ring again for their sponsorship of this lunch session. I want to thank our panel for mixing it up on these topics. It was good expert discussion. I appreciate your guys' perspective. This is our final session together on the high volume side of things. I want to thank everybody who made it out to the event and for everybody really digging in on some dense issues. My thoughts on programs for next year are more reporting from the field on what's actually being done and less concepting. So if you have interesting things that are going on in your companies over the next several months, let me know. And if you're willing to share, and we do need to be willing to share, because this comes up big at HTS, but it should come up big here too, is we've got a big opportunity to win against used houses, right? And we're all in that together. And it's hard sometimes for high volume builders like yourselves to share because you compete in specific markets. But if we can all get better on this tech offer, make it more compelling for the consumer, make it more efficient and profitable for you and your trade partners, we're going to grow our share of that market with the home technology piece too. So thank you for your participation in the program. You've got some more meetings and browsing to do in the exhibit after this, but really appreciate you coming out. And you guys have my email and phone number. Call me anytime with suggestions on how we could do the program better and what you need to make more progress on home tech. Thank you.